Right. Welcome everyone. This is Columbus SUG Sitecore user group September session. We try to do one session every month. So this time we have Varun and Chirag. Both Varun and Chirag, they are from Horizontal Digital, and they are active member in the Sitecore community with a lot of experience working in Sitecore. Today they will talk about Sitecore CDP and Personalize. Varun and Chirag, thanks for doing this session. Please take over and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Himadri, and thank you, Maulik bhai. Uh, it is really nice of you, and it takes a lot of efforts. I've been an organizing committee member for Sitecore User Group India, so I know how many, how much pain it is to organize sessions and make sure that sessions are being, taken care in the right way. So thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for the opportunity to present at Sitecore User Group India. Chirag and I, we will, start with our session today, which is on Sitecore Smart Hub CDP from the lens of a beginner. So, Chirag, would you like to introduce yourself to the team?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening. This side Chirag. I'm working as a technology lead at the Horizontal Digital, and I have like around 9 years of working experience in Sitecore. And apart from that, as you can see, like I'm certified in Sitecore 10 CDP, Order Cloud, as well as Content Hub. And I actively blog at that below link which is provided. Yeah, today I will be we will be presenting on the Sitecore CDP basics, and then we will covering basically the same. Yeah, Varun, if you can please introduce yourself.
Sure. Okay. So I'm Varun Shringarpure. Namaste. Good morning. Good evening. Uh, I work as a senior technology lead here at Horizontal. I've overall 13 years of experience in industry, and out of those 9+ years, I'm at Horizontal. Started off as a developer, and right now serving as a senior technology lead. I've been a 4-time Sitecore technology MVP in the past, and I am certified in Sitecore 6.5 through 10 in all the main versions whenever they came up, and Sitecore Content Hub certified developer. I regularly blog at varunvns.wordpress.com and sometimes also on LinkedIn. And when not on my laptop, I'm generally a DIY hobbyist, or I am an avid gardener where I spend some time with my kids. All right. So about today's agenda, we'll quickly look at CDP and Personalize, and try looking at what is Smart Hub CDP. Then we will have a basic walkthrough of the terminologies of CDP and Personalize. And last but not the least, we'll have a quick glance at Sitecore CDP and Personalize. So let's before we jump into CDP and Personalize, let's just look at, why are these buzzwords getting so much of importance these days? CDP, Personalize, and to understand the why behind this, it is good to check why personalize for a user, right? Now, when we talk of personalization, um, you know, we have to think about a customer. So every customer has a different need. Let's say there are 100 users visiting an e-commerce store. Someone might want to buy a smartwatch, while some other person might want to buy shoes. Um, so that brings us to two things. Number one is the content, right? And next is the context. So if we call content is the king, context is certainly the queen. And personalization can be in two ways. One is a simple personalization, wherein, just by looking at something or just by identifying a person, we are just giving them something which might be interesting for that particular conversation. But delivering tailored experiences at the right time, is the key difference between simple personalization and a connected experience. Let's take an example to understand this a little bit in detail. Let's say, I'm a car enthusiast, so I'll talk of cars. Let's say a car enthusiast goes to a store or a dealer, looks at a car of his or her liking, takes a test drive of the vehicle. He's pretty impressed with it. And during this conversations with the dealer and all, the user provides information like his mobile number or email ID. And then that is stored in the in some place. All right. Technically, that user is uniquely identified by that information. Now, let's say to get more details of the same vehicle, that enthusiast arrives on the website, right? And also logs in with the same mobile number. Now, it is important for a business to continue the dialogue with the user from where the conversation had ended in the store. Let's say because he or she had the test drive, you know what? Why not we ask, how was your test drive? Did you like it? Do you want to take another test drive? How can you rate this particular dealer? Now, when we do such conversation, when we continue from where we left off, a user feels valued. And today, customers value the experience more than they value the brand providing it. Now that we know the reason for personalization, let's go ahead and see how much of an effect it is. 91% of consumers today are likely to shop with brands who recognize, remember, and provide them with relevant offers and recommendations. And this is a survey which a number of companies have done, like Gartner, and 91% has been the level of consumers which uh, want personalization. Now it is evident why we require Sitecore CDP and Personalize. So let's plunge into it. Now, before understanding Sitecore CDP, it is good to understand the basics of CDP, right? So what is CDP? Basically, CDP in a full form is Customer Data Platform. So a Customer Data Platform is technically a collection of software which creates, persistent, unified customer database that is accessible to other systems, while data can be pulled from multiple sources into the CDP, stored there, and a number of like processing can be done on that particular data, maybe sanitized or cleaned up and utilized as required. When we look at that, now the ask becomes clear: why CDP? Eventually, when all these connecting points are available in CDP, it gives us a 360 view of a customer who is visiting our website. And why Sitecore CDP? So technically, Sitecore tracks every user data behavior, consolidates and connects all this data into one place, and builds customer profiles and segments with real-time data. These are specific benefits of Sitecore CDP over any other CDP platforms that we have in the market. Looking at it from an architectural level, this diagram very clearly shows us there are these four things in the middle, and then there are the entry points from where the data is ingested into CDP, right? So at the top we have the stream API. As an example, we can consider Engage Library SDKs for this. So all the searches that happen on the page, or the product views, or any activity on the cart in an e-commerce website can be linked to stream APIs. REST APIs are generally used for, it can be used for both. It can be used for web apps as well as for native mobile apps. But in usual scenario, REST API is used for native mobile apps, because that is the API layer which you can utilize to communicate with the CDP. But over and above that, all the other interactions or specific custom properties that you want to manage and stuff like that, it can happen through REST APIs. And the last input to the CDP is batch API. So batch API is all about, let's say you have a legacy system, and then you have some, or maybe some downstream systems, and let's say there is a CRM already available, or maybe SAP, some manufacturing data is coming into it. The order processing is being done, and we are having some offline data ingestion on a scheduled interval. That is where batch APIs comes into picture. Now, when we look at Sitecore CDP, we can receive data in different ways using the stream, REST, or batch APIs, and we can consider this as multi-channel data. As in it could be, it could be web, it could be a CRM, it could be downstream, it could be migration from a legacy to CDP. Technically, what we do in CDP is we collect all the data, we process it, and we export a batch segment, but we technically cannot personalize things specifically for users. The only way to do it is using, audiences. Definitely, we can access various dashboards and analytics to generate data through Sitecore CDP. Let's look at Sitecore Personalize, and I'll request Chirag to help us get through Sitecore Personalize here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for. Yeah, so as we noticed, like Sitecore CDP, we have data ingestion. Basically, Sitecore CDP we can use for data ingestion. Now, Sitecore Personalize is basically used for personalizing your experiences. By experiences, what I mean, basically, if you want to have a basically a like what you say, like a pop-up you want to have, okay, a custom pop-up you would like to trigger in your user journey, right? So in that case, that becomes your experience, right? And similarly, if you want to have a hero banner, right, there's a hero banner component and you want to personalize that, so we can use experiences for that, right? So basically personalizing the journey using the experiences and experiments we can do with the help of Sitecore Personalize, right? So Sitecore Personalize, as we can see, like there is only one way of ingestion to the data in the CDP is using Stream API, whereas Sitecore CDP provided three ways, but in Personalize we can only use Stream APIs to ingest the data to CDP, right? So this is the way of Stream API, and then on the bottom you can see we have decisioning. Okay, decisioning, I would say it's basically the crux of the entire CDP. So all the logic, right? All the logic which you will be which will be deciding for executing your experiences or experiments will go into the decisioning. So in decisioning, basically you will need to write your all backend code. So you can simulate it into a backend code in your Sitecore CDP. So you will be creating decision models and creating a backend code similar to basically that a backend code will not be written in the C# or some other languages in the backend languages, but it will be written in the JavaScript. Okay, right. So this is basically crux of the entire CDP, and we will be writing the entire data which we want to get from CDP, right, which is stored there using the decision models, right. So once once we have created the decision models, so I will basically have a demonstrate in you in the end of the demo, like how we can create a the decision model, how we can create a web experience, web experiment, and how all the things are related to each other, right? So once all these decision models, experiences, and experiments are created, then we can trigger a one-to-one, basically we can trigger whatever experiences and experiments are created, we can trigger them on our website, right? Using a one-to-one way or to the REST APIs, right? So basically there are two ways we can inject these experiences or experiments into the any website. So basically, in order to integrate Personalize into your website, you don't need to have a Sitecore ecosystem. So this is a decomposable platform. So you can integrate it in any of the website using basically it provides a SDK, which can be integrated in any of the languages, which whether it can be Next.js, React.js, or any other front-end framework or normal JavaScript also we can integrate it. Right? So basically, yeah, this is the architecture of Sitecore Personalize. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So now on the left, basically, I get like multiple questions in the community, like when should I go with Sitecore CDP? When should I go with Sitecore Personalize? Right? What are the basic differences? So we have formulated those differences in our table, which you can see here. Okay. So in Sitecore CDP, we have all the three ways of data ingestion: batch API, Stream API, and REST API. Whereas Sitecore Personalize only supports Stream API. So Stream API is nothing when we are using a library. Basically, there's an engaged library provided by CDP. So whenever we are using that in our platform, it will be basically in the background. Uh, using the Stream API, right? So this is one of the major difference in terms of API in between Sitecore CDP as well as Personalize. And on the left, you can see Sitecore CDP supports batch segmentation. Oh, okay. And on the right, Sitecore Personalize, on the other hand, supports real-time segmentation. So batch segmentation, what is batch segmentation? What is real-time segmentation? So batch segmentation is basically a terminology used when suppose you have a data. Okay, you have data which is collected into CDP, and now you want to do some decisioning on that. So that batch segmentation will run after. Uh, it's a nightly job which is scheduled to run after daily 24 hours. Right? So whenever you want to do a logic on a very huge amount of data, right? So that logic can be executed on the night, and that will return you the result. But if you want to have some kind of real time, so suppose that user has bought a product, right, and we want to show some kind of pop up at that moment only, rather than the user again coming onto the website, okay, and then logging in again, right? So if you want to have a real time kind of personalization, then we need to opt for Sitecore Personalize. But if we can wait for 24 hours for personalization to become active, then we can go for batch segmentation. So batch segmentation will be a nightly job, but on the other end, real time segmentation will be a like in momentary. Okay, but yeah, we should real time segmentation only when we are working on the small amount of data, and batch segmentation if we have a huge amount of data which can take a lot of time to execute, then in that case we should definitely opt for batch segmentation. Then yeah, on the left, you can see like audience guest as well as guest collection. So basically, there are tabs for guest in which we can see all the guests, all the attributes, like all the sessions, all the events. Okay, right. So that is only visible on the guest when we are using Sitecore CDP. If you opt for Sitecore Personalize, we will not be able to see the guest profile, which will be like a dashboard created which shows entire data, such as when the user is visiting. Basically, you can consider it similar to Sitecore Experience Analytics dashboard, right? So it basically is similar to that. So that is only available in Sitecore CDP, whereas it's not available in Sitecore Personalize, right? Similarly, audience sync. So audience sync, when we will be using basically audience sync, when we have a data ingested into CDP and we want to ingest that data into any third-party platform. Okay, it can be another uh, through file transfer protocol or any other through APIs, right? We want to ingest the data, whichever was in CDP, to another third party, right? So in that case, Sitecore CDP has a flexibility to integrate with any third party. Using audiencing, we can send the data to any other platform. Right? And similarly, we have dashboard reports, which is only like as I told, guest collection data. All the experience analytics reports are only available in CDP, where it's not available in Sitecore Personalize, right? So on the other hand, on Sitecore Personalize, as I told earlier, we have decisioning, experiences, and experimentation. Okay, so experiences and experimentation hands-on together with decisioning to give a personalized results onto the website. So this is basically a crux of the differences when we should use Sitecore CDP and when we should Sitecore Personalize. So on the end of the demo, we will show you both the dashboard for CDP as well as Personalize. This will make you more clear. Yeah.
Chirag, can you get us through Smart Hub CDP?
Yeah. So we have noticed like both CDP as well as Personalize, right? But now as a product, we have a Smart Hub CDP, which is a combination of both CDP as well as Personalize. Okay. So as you can see, like we have on the CDP, we have these entities which is customer data, audiencing, dashboard, connections, right? So all these are there. And on the Personalize, we have experiences, experimentation, decisioning, library, and all those connections, right? But if we connect them, both of them together, then we have all these functionalities in a single product. So if we want to have a one product which have all the features of CDP as well as Personalize, then we can go for Smart Hub CDP.
Please note at the end of end of the presentation when we'll be demoing this, we will look at the differences from the dashboard perspective as well, like how these options are available differently after looking at the overall the box ever sandbox that we'll be showing.
Yeah. So as you can see, this is a Venn diagram which we worked in our school time, right? So basically, as you can see on the left we have CDP, on the right we have Sitecore Personalize. but as a union of them, right? Which is a Sitecore CDP. So I would say like it is an enterprise platform. If your like client wants to have some enterprise platform, and then I would recommend to go definitely with Smart Hub CDP because it have union of both these features, CDP as well as Personalize. Yeah, so I would hand over to Varun to help us with the basic terminologies which we come across when we work on CDP as well as workflows.
All right. Thanks, Chirag. So the first one, of course, we looked at in the CDP diagram itself, Stream API. So basically, Stream API is used for capturing behavioral and transactional data. So it lets you basically send real-time behavioral and transactional data about the users of your application to Sitecore CDP. As an example, user is visiting various pages or navigating various pages of the website, then that is what is covered by your Stream API and ingested into your CDP. Next one is REST API. So all the actions technically that you take on your website as a user, uh, let's say all the create, read, update, or delete operations, or any custom operations that you want to take are a part of your REST API. An additional example to this can be, we want to add some custom properties to our guest profile based on the business for which we are building out or configuring this product, right? So that it can then be bifurcated into some other kind of, let's say, an audience sync. Let's say some specific type of guests in the system, or maybe take that value and maybe consider it, in earlier days, we used to call it engagement value in the Sitecore XP world, 9.x world. So something like that. We want to just store based on what the user is doing on our website, and then take it forward while, during his journey when they are checking out the product or something like that. Then it can be done using REST API. Uh, Next is batch API. So let's say we want to upload a lot of or large amount of guest data. Um, we can consider it as, like offline orders, which we want to just put it into CDP so that then we can have a sync process available. Um, and then that particular data can then be, utilized in a different way in other systems or in other parts of our website. Then that is also something that can be utilized. Then batch API is what technically is being considered here. And as Chirag mentioned some time back, batch API generally is kind of a nightly build process, and it's not real time. It's a scheduled job which happens, and this particular data is available into CDP. Next, we have segmentation. So let's consider segmentation as a process, which takes place in Sitecore CDP to separate out users with similar attributes. How can this be useful? Let's take an example again, considering a car enthusiast. Let's say a car company is launching a new off-roading vehicle. Yeah. So having such custom properties into guests from REST APIs, that whether this user is kind of an off-roading enthusiast or not, can be utilized in such cases that when a new off-roading vehicle is being launched, a specific notification can only be sent to those enthusiasts who are off-roading enthusiasts, and that is where the segmentation can come into picture. I hope these terminologies were helpful. We'll move on with the next set of terminologies. This is about the user. So previously what we saw is about CDP. Now here are the terminologies from a user standpoint. So guest is the one who interacts with your brand regardless of whether they are being identified or not. And guest profiles in CDP are pretty robust, and all the behavioral and transactional actions or data that is available is very nicely managed in CDP, which we'll of course look at in some time. And from our olden days or the X-Connect days, I'll call contact is what is guest. Next, visitor. So previously we used to call it an unknown contact, right? So it is basically an unidentified guest who has not given any information, who has not given any personal information by which we can identify that particular user uniquely. Next is a customer. So again, a known contact or an identified guest is the same concept here. Um, Whenever the PII data, like say an email address or something is available, we can uniquely identify the person. That is where a customer or a known contact comes into picture. Now it is interesting to know that the property in which we want to configure CDP, it could either be email ID, it could either be, some unique business identifier, which maybe, the business already has. That also can serve as a unique number, and we can configure whatever identity we want to recognize the user on our website or on our um, platform, I would say. Uh, Last one from a user standpoint is retired or archived. So it is if we go to CDP and we look at retired, we will not be able to go to retired because technically it is an archived data. But the concept is important to be understood. Whenever a user is unidentified, he or she is a visitor. So let's say I visit a website on my desktop, I visit a website on my mobile phone, and I am liking the content which they are providing. So then I register on my uh, desktop, right? So technically I had a visitor profile from my desktop. I had a visitor profile from my mobile phone. And then I registered on my desktop, so that visitor profile became customer. Now, when I log in with the same credentials on my mobile phone, technically what happens here is both these contacts are merged internally by CDP, and this particular second visitor contact of mobile becomes retired. All right. So that is archived, and all the data moves into the main customer, which can then be taken forward because now this particular user is identified. Um, for the next terminologies which are specific to personalize, I would request Chirag to take us forward with.
Varun, sorry to interrupt. Can you repeat
Sure,
this last thing again? That retired part you told just, can you please?
sure, absolutely. I believe it is Pawan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pawan, what technically happens is whenever we are accessing any website which has CDP configured from various devices, CDP maintains a unique ID for our browser ID. So like not just desktop, if I go to different browsers, they also will have different IDs. And then let's say I'm visiting from desktop, I'm visiting from mobile, then I have two visitor profiles technically. I have visited, let's say, some pages on my desktop, some on my mobile. And now when I'm providing a recognized information, let's say email ID, in that case, one of my visitor profile became customer. And then the second one, when I'm logging in again on the mobile phone, which was also a second visitor profile, all those transactions and behavioral data, which was a part of that visitor profile, it will move on or it will move to the identified customer profile, and this visitor profile will be retired. I hope it was clear.
Yeah. Thanks, Varun. Yeah, it is
So
clear
that
now.
means, Varun, that means all the interaction is moved to like basically merged into a
Yeah,
single record. But
correct.
the profile, only the profile data where the user information, like this is the user coming from this IP browser. So that
Yep,
only thing is retired, right?
correct.
Okay,
That is
I just realized that I was mentioning in the group chat that it is all the interaction is retired, but technically all things should be merged.
They are merged. They are merged.
Okay.
They move from the second visitor to the customer, and then the second visitor is archived. Technically, you cannot see that archived data. They just show you in the dashboard that you have these many retired profiles, but then the data is definitely moved.
Okay.
All right. Chirag, over to you.
Yeah. Just to add one thing, data in the archive section is like stored for 90 days, right? So after that, it is like deleted. So we can view it for 90 days and then it will be removed. Yeah. So now, like moving on to Sitecore Personalize. So we have basically two ways in which we can create a Sitecore Personalize, like in our CDP world. So one is using experiences and another is using experimentation, right? Both are very similar, very many of the folks get confused when to use experience, when to use experiment, right? So both of them provides the same kind of look and feel if you work on, but there's a very basic difference between experience and experimentation, right? So experience, you should create an experience only when you are sure like only one particular variant, right, will satisfy your business need, right? So suppose I have created a variant of model, and I am sure like user will be engaged with that particular variant and will be uh, like basically clicking that and all those stuff. But if we are not sure, right, with which particular variant the user will be more engaged, right? So basically, if we want to have multiple variants, like of a model pop-up. Okay, but basically, if I'm creating a model of a notification, so we can create multiple variants using experimentation. But experience will only support creating one variant, and this one variant will be displayed uh, across all the users. 100% of users will get the same pop-up. But if you want to have different variants across for different kind of users, like 50% want to have some particular variant, first variant, and 50% would like to have second variant, then you should go to experimentation. So this is basically an A/B testing. So if this is like in the Sitecore world, also we have created A/B test in which we have different variants of the data source items, right? In which we have different text for the CTAs, and we want to check the engagement value of which CTA is higher than other variant, right? So in that case, we can create experimentation. But if we are sure like only one variant is satisfies our requirement, then I'll definitely go for experience. Yeah. And experimentation, yeah. So basically, both these experience and experimentation have some predefined steps in order to configure them, which we'll see in the demo also, like how to configure them. So first step is like we need to configure that page targeting. So basically, in the page targeting, which we target like which page we want to show that particular experience or experiment. Okay, so we can have like on the products page only we want to show that target or show that experience. So we can use page targeting. So in page targeting also supports regex. Okay, so this is a point to be noted. Like we can note that. So it's not like we need to provide absolute URLs. So it also supports regular expressions, and it can be fired using the regular expressions which we create on the dashboard. Another point is the audience. When we have created an experience, but we want to target like on to particular group of users to target that particular experience. So if you want to target like only particular category of users should see that experience, we can configure an audience. So audience, as I told, can be configured in two ways. One is using a batch segmentation, and another is using a real-time segmentation. Right? So as I told earlier, batch segmentation is on CDP, and real-time segmentation is on Personalize. So audience can be like whenever you create an audience, you will have two options. Go for batch segmentation when you have like you can wait for nightly job to execute, and if you want to have a real-time data and you want to have real time on the basis of real time logic, you want to decide whether I should show that pop-up or notification, then you should go for the real time segmentation. Yeah, next is decisioning. So whatever data, right? Whatever data is stored in CDP and you want to create a logic from that, right? So that logic will be created in the decision model. So I will show you in one of the use cases how we use decision models. And basically decision models can also be connected to AI. So if you want to get the data from AI models, right? So in that case also we can plug and play the decision to models to an external connections and get the data. So basically decisioning, as I told earlier, If you want to have all the backend code written, you need to go to decision models, but that backend code needs to be written in the JavaScript. So, but that JavaScript code will not be executed at the client side. It will be only executed at the CDP side. So this like with one misconception, like whether the JavaScript, there's a JavaScript code, but that JavaScript code will not be executed on the client side. That point we need to note that that JavaScript code will only run on the CDP server, which is on the backend of their servers. Yeah. And then on the last, we have goals. Yeah, goals is basically, as I told, is like if you have created two different variants that you want to identify which winner, which one of them will be the winner. So we can identify using the goals. So basically, like we can basically attach, as in Sitecore XP world, we attach, like whenever we click on button, we attach some kind of numbers, like points to that particular CTA, right? So we can basically associate similarly the goals to that. So whichever variant will have high number of points will be the winner, and that can help business to decide like which variant they should in the future they should move onwards. So whenever we create an experience and experiment, so these are the four guidelines which we need to basically create, or steps you can say, which we need to like basically configure while configuring an experience or an experiment. So these are common in both of them.
All right, Chirag, let's have a quick glance at the dashboard, the um, you know, CDP and Personalize.
So yeah, let me share my screen now.
Okay.
So yeah, are you able to see the screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is basically our what is it? Our box saver. So as CDP, like it's basically our box saver is using a box saver platform in the behind the scenes. So basically, we'll need to have a subscription for this in order to log in for that. But yeah, this is how like the dashboard will look like, in which we will have guest, right? So as I told, this guest will be only be visible like we'll have all the distributions like time of day, which time my visitors are visiting, then again the browser, operating system, countries, right? So this is all the categorizations, same to the like experience analytics world, which shows us the reports. So these are the reports which can be visible in the guest. Right? Similarly, we have batch segmentation. Right? Batch segmentation, as I told, like this is an IT job which need to be done, and but we can create a batch segmentation using SQL queries. Right? So these are the SQL queries which in the advanced sessions we will show like how to create a batch segmentations. And audience sync, as I told, basically it is used to sync your content in CDP to any other external third party, which can be Salesforce or any other third party which you want to send the data from CDP to any other, or we want to send an email also, then also we can use an audience sync. So basically it will send all the data which is in CDP to an email. And then here are the two products which are provided by Sitecore Personalize. So as you will see, experiences also has two types, web and full stack, and experiments also has two types, web and full stack. Right? But there is a difference which I told. Experiment will allow you to create multiple variants. So if I like move into any of the experiences which I've created, into now. So as you can see, like I have created one particular variant in my experience, right? And if I similarly go to experimentation, similarly web, we can see here we can have multiple variants, right? And we can distribute the logic according to distribution 50-50%. So this is divided according to the bucket number criteria. That also I will cover what is bucket number in CDP.
So Chirag, you know what, as a user looking at the CDP, like experiences and experiments for the first time, when I click on the drop down and I see web versus full stack, I get confused. Can you help me understand the difference between those two?
Yeah. So basically, web experiences and full stack experiences, there's a like difference in them. Web experiences are those like if you want to create a like let me show with an example so that you will have a better understanding. So for example, like I have created a web experience for book now. So this is a model pop-up which I have created in CDP entirely. So I have not ingested this model pop-up code in my website, logic. Right? So this is, if you click on the variant here, so you can see the entire HTML as well as my CSS. Everything resides on my CDP as well as everything, right? But if I move on to onto the other hand, my full stack. So full stack experience is basically if you want to get the data from CDP and use that data into your website. So for example, let's consider an example of hero banner. I want to personalize that data of hero banner, right? But that data does not resides in my CDP, and I want to have different data sources, right? So in that case, what I will do, if I click on this, this basically returns a data source. So if you want to return some JSON data to your website, and on basis of that JSON data, you want to trigger some logic, then in that case, you need to use full stack, basically full stack experiences. But in that, if in the case you want to have a pop-up which need to be entirely configured in CDP, then you can definitely go for web. But if you want to have some kind of dynamic JSON data to be returned, right, from your CDP, right? So in that case, you need to go to full stack. So basically, full stack also is of two types. One is like interactive, and another is triggered. Yeah. So interactive experiences basically, as it said, if you want to get dynamic data, which is in form of JSON, can be returned to your website. Then you go for interactive, and triggered is basically on if you want to get some JSON data based on some button like CTA got triggered, right? So in that case, we can have like triggered experiences. So let me show you some example of triggered experiences. So basically here you can see I have created a trigger, and this trigger is basically whenever my session is closed and I want to it's basically this experience, which is full stack, which will be fired only when my session is closed, and then that will dynamic data will be returned to my website. So basically, if you want to fire some external APIs or want to get some dynamic data fetched from CDP to your website I mean like whatever like your front end website, right? So you can use full stack. But on the other end, for pop-up, we need to use where the entire HTML resides in CDP, we need to use web. So I just quickly show like we have integrated the boxable library in our basically engage library, which is a new variant of interacting with CDP. So whenever you like integrate this is basically a Next.js website which we have hosted. So in that case, you can see like whenever you will integrate your engage library, you will have some guest reference. So this is a cookie which will be getting created. So this is a unique identifier which Varun earlier mentioned, like what is the unique identifier. So this will be stored on your cookies, and using this, all your sessions, all your events will get captured in this. So if I copy this guest ID and go to guest and paste it here. Yeah. So here, like as I can see, like this is my guest. It's currently a visitor because it's not identified by email right now. So all my attributes, you can see like when it is visiting and everything, it comes here. And all the properties, right, which can be title, full name, everything, right, it will come here, first seen, last seen. And the most important is like whenever like the guest is visiting your website, it will have some kind of sessions, some kind of events. So that can be enabled from the event viewer, right? So let me show you like whatever like the JSON gets created in CDP quickly. So if I go to that particular guest and go to basically, this is all the data which is stored in CDP for that particular unknown visitor. So if I copy this JSON into some editor, so this JSON data you will help you to write all your logic. So it's, as you can see on the we have guest. Right? So on the guest we will have its reference ID, its identifiers, and the sessions. So in the sessions, we will again have basically multiple events. So yeah, one point is like in CDP, like the session expires after whatever point in the point of sale, you configure the session timeout. So if it's 1 hour, then it will expire. It will create a new session when the user is back. So in the session, we will basically have multiple sessions created according to the timeout logic which you configured in your POS. So this is how the basically the entire data which will be for your guest residing in your CDP. So using this only, we will play with business decision models, and which we will see in the advanced sessions. How we'll be using these properties and using that to uh, create our personalized experiences on the website. So this is the overview we wanted to give, like how the JSON data looks and how is the data stored. So if basically there are orders, then also it will go into this attribute. So you can get this data. How to get that? Basically, you can use a test canvas button and using the guest reference ID, you will get that particular JSON data, which is stored in the CDP for that particular unknown visitor. So this is basically an overview of how the things works in the background. Yeah.
Chirag, two things which I would request you to help us with. Number one, the identity that we talked about in the basic terminologies, that initially generally it is email ID, but we can configure it to be any number. Maybe a loyalty number, maybe some downstream system manufacturing ID we have. Can you show how can we change that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, identity rule, we can configure it as multiple identity rules. So in order to configure your identity rules, you can go into your settings and go to identity rules. So here you can see like we have first, so it basically executes from top to bottom. So here the first provider is email, second is loyalty provider ID, and third is this. So if it matched with any of them, so it will be merged with that particular guest profile. So you can configure your identity providers multiple add up to like 5 rules are there supported. So if you have like a CRM ID or any unique identifier which you want to configure, it can be a combination of 2 as well. So yeah, if one of them does not contain, then it will go to the second part. So this is how the identity provider works. So you can have multiple rules here, and it's not only email. You can have any ID which is unique to your website. You can configure in the identity rules.
So
All right.
guys,
Yep.
just a quick time check. We have 10 more minutes. Okay.
Yeah, we are almost done. Just the last part of it, Himadri, thank you so much for that time check. So as we looked at overall the dashboard and stuff, um, now this sandbox environment that you look at is a complete box ever sandbox environment. So Chirag, if you can stop sharing, what I will do here is we will go to Sitecore cloud portal, and we will look at how it is now being differentiated into two different products, so that let's say a customer wants only CDP or only Personalize, then how will the look and feel for that particular user be, right? So I'm quickly sharing my screen back. So over here, let's say if I go to CDP, right? So now when we look at this particular dashboard, try recollecting um, the um, the slide where we had shown the specific navigation items which we had only guest, batch segments, audience sync, and dashboard, and library and developer center, right? So this is CDP. So now if the first diagram and stuff becomes clear, this is CDP, and of course all the data that Chirag showed us remains. So if I, for example, if I go to this particular customer profile, all the detailing can be available here. We can look at the timeline. Over here we can look at various sessions and what all happened during those sessions. There was like something, one of the segment was also fired, so that also happened. And then if this the different conversations or the different configurations can help us also see whether we have been able to convert the customer or not. I'll quickly jump on to Personalize to identify the differences with CDP. So now when I go to Personalize, again from the diagram, from the architecture diagram which Chirag explained to us, and the navigation differences that we'd shown, experiences, experiments, decisioning, and library, right? And well, if we, you know what, they're technically connected behind the scenes. So the same web experience that we had, book now, which Chirag was just showing us, uh, that same is available over here from the Sitecore cloud portal. All right. So let's continue with our um, presentation further. Do we have any questions during this session?
Okay, I don't see any questions on the chat, but I think this is the time to ask if you have any questions. I have one um, from the very basic understanding here. So you did talk about the smart hub, right? But then you actually showed Personalize and CDP are two different separate product. But one of the slide you were like, combining those, and I have not heard about smart hub. What is that?
Great question, Imadri. So basically Gartner has some rules that if the CDP is able to give you a 360 view of a customer, and I mean there are like a number of rules for CDP as well as for Personalize. If both together are able to provide one-to-one connected experience to a user, then that particular environment, which is CDP plus Personalize, can be called a Smart Hub CDP. And Sitecore CDP and Personalize falls into that particular category, and hence the technical word being Sitecore Smart Hub CDP. Now, the reason, so whenever we look at both these products, like if we go to, the cloud portal, right, we always see different access and products available to us. The reason Sitecore has separated them out is for ease of use and also for ease of understanding. So when there are times wherein customers only want CDP or customers only want Personalize, then in that case they can go ahead with separate products and that should be okay. But if we are to recommend to our customers what you should take, it should be CDP plus Personalize, and they can have separate teams taking care of both these environments separately. Let's say there is a data scientist team who is taking care of the CDP to identify customer and know them better, and then there is a personalization like a marketing team taking care of the personalized side of it. So from that perspective as well, both those products, even if they are one, they are kind of segregated out and kept differently for users.
All right. Yeah, it as the name suggests, like, it sounds more like Personalize is, although it has the ability to collect data to some extent, it really, like, for doing experimentation and, like, personalization, but it will be a more rich product if it can actually use CDP as its data store, and then, like, CDP, I guess more from the analytics point of view, it's just data store. You decide what to do with the data. So okay, that makes sense. So I mean, I guess dividing them gives some option for the customer. to decide, like, do I need to collect so much data or 360-degree view? Maybe I'm just okay with the personalized because I'm doing just the web experimentation and stuff. So I think that makes sense. All right,
And the
thank you.
best part about this is, it's composable. So today I decide, what, I only want CDP. I just want to know my customer better initially. We take CDP first, we collect data, we identify it, and we take, in a staggered form, we take personalize maybe 3 or 6 months down the line, because now I identified the customer, I know what type of personas I want to build. So then I can do that later. So again, composable, so it's very easy from a cost perspective as well as from the perspective of implementation.
Great. So I still don't see any questions on the chat, but if anyone has any question.
Hey guys, I have one question.
Sure.
Chirag.
Yeah, Girish.
So
Yeah.
let's suppose some of the customers are using XP, right? And they still wanted to stay on the XP version and they wanted to use CD. Can they use that?
Absolutely, yes. So
Okay.
generally with CDP and Personalize, what happens is it is the beacon scripts and that you need to configure in your website, and it can be taken forward. More from a technical standpoint, I'll request Chirag to take it forward. Chirag, if you want to detail it out from a stepwise perspective.
Yeah. So basically, Girish, like in XP world, we have complete architecture which we need to have for XDB, XDB and everything, right? Which we need to manage with shard concept and everything. Right? So that entire environment, if we are like hosting in a scaled also, that we need to have set up. But in CDP, if you like see like everything of data management and everything is done by Sitecore CDP as well as Personalize. So all the data merging, aggregation, processing, everything is handled at Sitecore CDP and Personalize. And moreover, it's not like any website which is like is your basic HTML website also can work with the UC Sitecore CDP because it has integration with JavaScript as well as any other front-end framework, JavaScript, Next.js, React.js, Vue.js, AngularJS. So it basically is a front-end framework uh, from which we can integrate it to any of the website which we want, and it will help us to ingest data to CDP, and then we can use that CDP data to further do anything like experimentation experiments. So we can use Sitecore XP parallelly, like whatever XDB database we have, but we can side by side use CDP on the as well.
Thanks, Chirag.
Yeah, in that kind of scenario, I'll probably go downgrade my license to XM and
Absolutely.
like, use, I think CDP is much more painless than working with XDB, XConnect, and also we don't know where that is going. So,
yeah.
Right. Any other questions? Looks like no. All right. Thank you, Varun and Chirag. Thank you so much. It's kind of late there. I know, we know that, but this was a really good presentation. We learned a lot here. I had no idea about all this. So personally, I think it was a great help for me. Okay. And yeah, this is recorded. This will be actually, we'll put it in the YouTube. Okay. And thanks again.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Glad to know we were able to add value. But wait, this is not it. We are, so this was basically a basics session, and we are planning for an advanced session on Sitecore Smart Hub CDP. So probably we'll discuss with both of you again, Himadri and Maulik, if there is a slot available, and then we can present on that particular topic. So that will basically have
Absolutely.
different use cases where we would like to present on a website how it works behind the scenes, and we can take it forward.
Absolutely. I would love to have that. in the in another session, and that will complete this knowledge that we are going through, right? So we'll contact you for that. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
And it was a pleasure. Thank you. It's good that we were able to add some value. So
All right.
have a good day.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.